Yeah, hi there. This is a question sent to me by one of my STELT students from my online 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT, and I got to make a video of this one. This is a good question, and this is what I like about this student. A teacher is only as good as his student, and this student is pushing me and helping other people even understand a little bit more about the integrated writing section of the TOEFL IBT. So let's take a look at the question. It says, "Hello, Michael. I have a question about the integrated part of the writing section of the TOEFL test. It would be remarkable if you solve this problem. So I have two kinds of strategies to write it. First, I will use information from both the lecture and the reading in each paragraph. Second, I separate the lecture and the reading and write each idea in separate paragraphs. So what do you think? Which strategy is better for getting good results?" If you don't understand what I said, here is the example. All right, so let's take a look at both examples here. So version 1 says, "The article states that American football is the greatest sport event throughout the USA and provides several reasons for support. However, the professor explains that this sport is not as popular as other programs that are performed for a publication and refutes all the points in the reading. First, the article claims that this cap is very celebrated since people use plenty of money just seeing this capstone of American football, the Super Bowl. However, the lecturer refutes this point by emphasizing the popularity of talk shows. He says that the most famous football event occurred in 2004, but one talk show in 2005 had more impact on society than this football event. Second, the article posits that commercials can get plenty of financial benefits from this football event. Again, the professor opposes this opinion. Thus, commercials can get a lot of money by using Brad Pitt in their advertisement rather than investing plenty of money to the American football." So what I would say here is, I like this. I would say, again, the professor opposes this point because, or saying that, or say something like, again, opposing this point, the professor claims that commercials can get a lot of. So you don't want those two short sentences. I think that first sentence should be combined with the second when you put them together. Okay, so that's version 1, you say. Version 2, both the lecture and the article discuss American football events. The reading supports that this football event is the greatest social event in publication. And if you say whereas, put a comma, and then say whereas, no comma, the lecture opposes all the points. Just say the points mentioned in the reading. Then you say the article claims that this event is very famous among people. Thus, they use plenty of their money just to see the capstone of this competition. This fact indicates the popularity of the sport event. Moreover, the author states that this spectacular competition attracts a lot of investments from advertisers. Thus, investors use the popularity of this event in order to get a lot of money. However, the lecturer emphasizes that some kinds of talk shows are more celebrated than this football event. Instead of saying, thus, I don't know, I'm not sure if that's the right connector, but you say, according to the lecture, the most striking football event occurred in 2004. However, one of the talk shows in 2005 got more interest than the publication than this match or game. Also, the professor says that commercials can get more money by using Brad Pitt in their advertisements rather than by investing plenty of money in finance investments in American football. Okay, so essentially what you're asking me is there's two ways of comparing information in writing. One way is called sequencing. Sequencing means you put these similarities and the differences in the same paragraph together. Chunking means you discuss the one article and its claims or similarities, and then you discuss the other article and its differences in the next paragraph. That's called chunking. Believe it or not, you can do both. Both ways of organizing information, either sequencing or chunking, are acceptable. But for you, your question is, which is more effective? I think personally that your version 1 is more effective. It more closely posits the information from the reading against the information in the listening. It's more easy for me to see what those similarities and those differences are. Do you see that? I like how you put it together here. You put it within that same paragraph. It's easier for the reader, I think, to see how the lecture differs from the reading in that sense. Remember that with the TOEFL, part of your score on the integrated writing task is to see if you can combine the relevant information in the listening with the relevant information in the reading. In this case, you show what the differences are. And by putting them together in the same paragraph, you more closely relate those ideas. I like version 1. But let me ask you this. What if you're on the integrated, during the integrated section of the TOEFL test, and it discussed, let's say, environmental problems or something. And the whole purpose of the reading passage was to discuss generally environmental problems. But let's say the lecture gives a specific example of a type of environmental problem. Let's say greenhouse gases, for example. In that case, it doesn't really disagree with the information. It is simply giving a more specific example of a larger idea. I think version 2 would work better in that sense. For example, in this paragraph in version 2, you could discuss the reading passage and the main points it makes about environmental problems. And then in the next paragraph, you could discuss a specific example of a type of problem. So you don't have to put the example exactly after the ideas. But what you did is you discovered, I think, that the lecture disagreed with specific points in the reading passage, and in many cases that's exactly what the TOEFL writing task will do. And you chose the sequencing organizational pattern because you thought, or you think maybe, it's a better way to express what the relationships are. And I agree with that. I think in your case, given the purpose and the content of what the reading passage and the lecture were discussing, I think version 1 is much better in what you're doing. But be careful. What I'm saying is sometimes you have to ask yourself, what is the writing task? And then ask yourself, would chunking or sequencing be a better way to organize those ideas? So in conclusion, let me just recap what I said here is chunking or sequencing, and version 1 means sequencing, version 2 means chunking. You can use both of these ways of organizing writing, especially when you're comparing and contrasting ideas. But in your case, I think version 1 is more effective given the content and the purpose of the task and what you're doing. That would be my answer to your question.